Round 14 of 19. Oh yes, we are closing in on the home straight here for F1 2013. The Caterham Kings are with you again. My name is Simon, and as ever, I have the Esteben with me, ready to kick out some ass.
Standard Mexican greeting to all of you individually.
I've just got this image of you with a ginormous hat just going around bowing to people.
I do wear a ginormous hat when we record these. You just don't see it because we don't cam.
When you finish and you stand on the podium or you get the pole position, do you just squeeze lime at people?
Squeeze lime, shake my maracas. Yeah, whatever it takes. Got to give the crowd the show.
Amazing. Well, talk about giving the show. Just looking at the old stand-ins, we've got Alonso up on top from Rosberg, Hamilton, Massa and Vettel down in 5th. Lols! I'm sitting there in an old 8th with the old 75 pointeroos. You're on the old 26 down in P13, unlucky for some. We have to sort that one out.
Yeah, it is very unlucky, but you know, we're ahead of the Marussias and the Williams and the Force Indias, and yeah, I'll take it.
Great stuff. The only person yet to score is Ricardo. Oops. Go and sign you off to a Red Bull. And in the constructors, we're sitting quite pretty in a 5th position with 101 points, triple billing, ahead of McLaren.
Yeah, which, you know, again, we'll take.
Yeah.
We'll take. You know, I was thinking for next season, maybe we should restrict ourselves to we can only play for a team that we have beaten in the constructors.
Okay.
I think that's fairly reasonable because, you know, it's you and me, we don't like to play for successful teams because, you know, we can't relate to being successful, but yeah.
That is true. No, I like that idea actually, because then that gives us the old toned down McLaren, Sauber, Force India, Marussia, who is equal on points with Williams, and Toro Rosso.
Unbelievable.
Tell you what is also unbelievable, Chilton re-signed.
Yeah, well, that's one of the many things we've got to talk about today, which is something of a problem when you think about it, because we record these in batches, so by the time any news we announce goes up on the internet, it's like a month out of date. So thanks for joining us this evening on Too Late to Matter, where we'll be discussing driver numbers and Max Chilton.
Why not? So let's dive into old quali, because you said you quite fancy the circuit.
I like this circuit. Didn't imply I'm good at it. I'll never make that mistake again.
Okay. What do you like about this circuit? Because obviously it's off the calendar now.
Yeah, well, obviously I don't like the live event. It's depressing, but the track itself, I don't know. I like the flow of it. I think it's one that I can get into a rhythm on quite quickly. Whereas, you know, there's always a bogey, either a bogey intermediate or a bogey corner on most tracks that throws me off. This one I'm kind of comfortable 95% of the way round, which, you know, is an improvement.
There is a bogey corner for me on this track actually, and there's a double left that then goes, or it's a double left with a right at the end, and I keep forgetting that the right is as slow as it is, and then I end up steaming off, and it's just at the end of sector 2. Hate it so much. We will investigate that barrier and that runoff at some point during this broadcast.
Well, it's good from a gaming standpoint to get up close and just check, see if they've done a good job on the textures, see what the collision physics are like.
Absolutely.
We're on for a dry weekend, Simon.
Oh, are we? That's an improvement over the last couple.
So I'm going to go 2 to the right like a rebel.
Oh, you devil. Mind you, you've got long straights over here. I'm only going to go the 1 because that seems to be the standards.
Ghosted Toro Rosso just I mean, I hope we don't have the frame rate issues we had last time.
Well, I've now got my new RAM, so I'm hoping no.
All complete, we're ready.
It's a horrible pit lane exit here, isn't it?
It's terrible. Especially because you come out onto the racing line.
Yeah, what moron invented that? So, like you say, lots of actual Formula 1 news, and lots of game Formula 1 news.
Oh.
And lots of other exciting things to talk about, right? So, first off, the driver numbers have come out, which no one cares about even slightly. Whoa, what's happened here?
What's that?
For some reason, I kicked my desk and my mouse moved over to the corner and it windowed my game.
Oh no!
But it's alright, I'm on an outlap, so I'm not being timed, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, which no one remotely cares about, right? Except for two things. First of all, Jenson Button has stolen my number, so when I do get to F1 finally, he's already got it. Maybe he'll be retired or possibly dead before that happens. With 22, but the perfect marriage of the whole process was Pastor Maldonado self-electing to be number 13. Which, is there anything better than that?
Because he'll be the first number 13, won't he?
Yeah, he wants to bring it back. And some could argue he already has.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, Pastoral. I tell you what, he's always good for a headline.
Yes, he is. Although he might not be next season because, as the great prophet Jordan predicted, there is a addendum to Lotus and Marusha's entry listing.
What's that?
So both their entries are, quote, subject to confirmation.
Oh.
And, I wouldn't necessarily worry too much, except for the fact that straight after that happened, Eric Boulier came out and said, oh yeah, it's fine, it's all in hand, it's just a case of, it's administrative, it's just a case of submitting some paperwork. And we know Lotus's record when it comes to submitting paperwork.
Like paychecks.
Yeah, such as paychecks or sponsorship agreements, legally binding contracts, like things of that nature.
Yeah, we did.
And so that's a bit worrying. And apparently Marusha's entry is still in doubt.
I thought they weren't bad on the old sponsorship front. I don't hear too much about them being in trouble any more than a lot of other people.
Well, because them being in financial trouble doesn't technically classify as news because it's not new information. I think that's the reason.
Yeah.
I mean, Caterham are only really being propped up by Tony's bank account, and he's getting, from what I hear, pretty sick of it at this point.
Yeah.
But to be honest, he's just doing a Paul Stoddart. Like, he bought Minardi, and I'm actually reading that book I showed you the other day, Sam. I'm reading the Forza Minardi book.
I love that book.
But he, by his own admission, he said, my accountants told me to stay well clear of it. And it's like, well, surely then, as a businessman, or used to be a businessman because everything he owned has now gone bankrupt, maybe you should have listened to the professionals you pay to monitor your accounts, right? And if Tony Fernandez thought, oh hey, I'm going to run a Formula One team as a sound financial investment, then he probably needs his head checking.
Yeah, that is true. I may have just caused a bit of an issue with the Ferraris and Webber.
Excellent.
Never mind. Yeah, that'd be a shame if the old Grillaroo shrinks down again. Isn't there still talk of there being a new team for 2015 as well?
But yeah, that's why they've opened the tender though. The rumour is they've opened the tender for a new team because they expect, I believe Marussia was the one they expected to go bust.
Yeah, because they weren't allowed into the old concrete agreement. Concord agreement.
The concrete agreement.
The concrete Concord agreement that no one wants to sign.
I think your name is better. The concrete agreement. It sort of ties around your ankles, drags you down to the bottom.
Yeah. The Chiltern agreement.
But incidentally, do you remember the last time they opened the tendering process? And within like hours, loads of teams, engineering companies, entrepreneurs came out and said, yep, we filed an entry, yep, we filed an entry. This time, nothing, just complete silence.
Does that not show you the state of how Formula One is now, maybe where it's not quite got the happiness and the globality as what it may have done now that it's got its own private TV channel? It's had a bit of a whitewash on the old Vettel front, which isn't anyone's fault apart from Vettel and Newey for winning all the time. Well, I suppose you could argue it's everyone else's fault.
No, I agree completely. It's about that. I don't even need to give it a moment's thought because the only reason that F1's been how it's been, I mean, it's a paradox of F1, right? It's constantly trying to hang itself.
Yeah.
Because it stifles competition with technology, but without the technology, it's not F1.
Yeah.
Right? And if you put too much restrictions on the engineers, or as someone stupidly suggested the other day, on a video I was watching, and I was astounded by it. They suggested Formula One should be a single make formula.
Huh?
I'm a tolerant guy. I'm pretty relaxed and everything. You know, I'm quite a nice guy. But that person needs to be taken outside and shot. That is just the single worst idea I've ever heard. What's the point of it being the pinnacle of motorsport if you don't manufacture your own cars?
Yeah. No,
It just, you know, that can only have been suggested by someone with zero passion for the sport. So shame on you, whoever you were. I didn't even bother to note down your name. You are nothing to me. But here's the thing, right? They only ever... God, I'm being held in garage here while everyone in the world drives out of the pits. F1 only ever got to where it is now through, well, largely it was the billions of the tobacco companies, right, which they very stupidly agreed to phase out, right, which was the first mistake they made. Mm-hmm. Right, because, I mean, I love Formula One, but I've never smoked in my life. And the tobacco companies' involvement in my favourite sport has had absolutely zero bearing on my interest in smoking.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole argument over advertising in general. How much actually... It gives you brand awareness, maybe, but does it really persuade you to go and do stuff? No. But didn't that all get phased out because they were arguing that if you broadcasted a car in some countries where it... Oh, that pit lane. Where you... you're in another country that allows tobacco advertising, so you've got the branding on your car. They were going to... Some TV companies were saying, well, we're not going to show that race at all because it's breaking the law in tobacco advertising. So that's just stupidity in countries, so they had to drop it.
I wasn't aware of that. I mean,
that was the whole argument.
An issue. But then, if that was the case, why is there still a whiskey sponsor on Force India at Abu Dhabi, a dry country?
I don't think they care. I'm sure it was stupid us Europeans who are desperately falling over ourselves to be so politically correct to everything in the world that actually we just end up as bastardised versions of everything ever. But yeah, it's people in offices pushing pens being annoying, I'm sure, was what ruined that one. But yeah, no, I agree that...
But I mean, you only ever got that money in the first place because F1 commanded such an audience.
Yeah.
And that audience started to die off a bit in the Schumacher era because people are just fed up of seeing the same person win all the time. And it's dying off now in the Vettel era. But when the audience is smaller to begin with, because, you know, they don't know the viewing figures over illegal streams. So, you know, when they take figures to potential sponsors, the selling power of a logo on a car now commands such less exposure than it did a decade ago that I'm not surprised a lot of companies just really don't give a monkeys. Do you know?
I think it also shows the wariness economy-wise as well, because I go on this website in the UK called YouGov, which gives you points to do various questionnaires to give your opinion on stuff. I'd say once every 10 days it asks me, how do you feel the economy is going? Not only does that question really annoy me because I'm being asked it every 10 days, but I must say I don't feel like the economy is recovering at all, because having worked in a public sector environment, I see the remnants of what happens with the economy every single day. And I wonder, now having already had so many businesses run into trouble, are you really going to spend that bit of backbone that you have, and bit of safety net, on something that is also not really giving you the kind of stuff that you wanted to get anymore? I've lost my train of thread, sorry, I approached the corner that I hate.
No, it's fine, I know what you're saying. I think what we might see happen is F1 to become less of the preserve of Europe And I mean, it was never the preserve of North America. I mean, there are some great F1 fans over there, very passionate fans, but the country at large, it just has passion for other sports, and that's absolutely fine, whatever floats their boat. But it just means that the revenue's not going to come from that. And to be honest, I don't think a lot of the American car manufacturers will see the benefit in being involved in F1. In terms of road car technology or brand value, nor do I think they've got the experience in that kind of racing necessarily. Certainly not enough to run their own team. I think it's all going to move towards Asia and the Middle East, as it already has started to, and there was that big scare amongst sort of the European elitists in early 2000s when, do you remember Asia Tech, the engine company?
Yeah.
They bought the assets of, was it the old Renault or Peugeot, perhaps? It was one of them. Bought their old factory, and the idea was they were going to eventually enter their own team. Mm-hmm. And basically, they were buying into technology that they didn't have the capacity to research themselves. So they gave engines for free to Arrows and Minardi as part of a technology transfer, and they were going to refine the engine and they were going to build a car, and that. And the guy running the project said, look, this technology isn't anywhere near this stage of development in China, so we're going to buy, or Malaysia for example, we're going to buy into it on the side, buy patents, buy the engineers, and then we're going to develop this technology for Asia. And a lot of people really freaked out about that, saying, what's going to happen to the classic races, what's going to happen to the classic teams, and it never really came to anything. But this time I think you might see it actually move that way. I mean, HRT very nearly became a Chinese team.
Oh! I appear to have caused a pit lane problem.
Do tell.
There's a force engine coming out of the pits. I'm trying to get in it. In fact, there's all kinds of problems. Oh! Chilton! That was bizarre. I wonder if we've got a frame rate syncing issue again, because... Oh, it's just smacked someone else as well. I think there's going to be a lot of damaged car in this pit lane. Soz. That was a Marussia saying, don't tell me that I'm not going to be starting 2014. Interesting. Yeah, no, on that whole Asia sorting out front type thing, agreed. They'll go where the money is, and the money is not in Europe at the moment.
It definitely isn't. What else has gone on in the news? Chilton, like you say. How do you feel about old Max being re-signed for another season?
Bit indifferent actually. I don't think he was nearly as bad as what people made out him to be. Oh, why does it never?
No, I would agree. The thing is, I joke about him, and I never really paid that much attention to him. But I realised today that actually him finishing every race in his rookie season is a record.
Oh yeah.
And that's all you can really ask someone to do, I suppose.
Especially in a car like that.
Yeah. All you can ask them to do is finish, like you said in an earlier episode. So I guess, he's done what was asked of him, so why would they replace him? Yeah,
and for that type of team, that's what they want. They're not going for extreme pace because their extreme pace may get them 18th or
exactly.
19th on the grid. So by being able to finish, if they'd stuck in someone that binned it all the time, like say D'Ambrosio not even getting around the warm-up lap at Suzuka, that's not going to endear you to the team, is it? And he was not very cost ruining, was he? Because he was never in trouble.
No, exactly. And the thing is that rumour was that part of the reason Sergio Perez was out at McLaren is that he didn't have the support of his engineers. And I think when you work long hours in F1 as it is, and especially at a small team where everything is down to the wire, the last thing you want is having to be rebuilding parts of the car after every session.
Yeah.
You know, you get yourself, you know, I think of it as like working in any other job, right? You get yourself into the mentality like, oh, it's knocking off time in an hour, let's go get a beer and some dinner, and then, you know, Perez bins it on the final qualifying lap. And you think, oh, bollocks, that's that evening done, isn't it? Because you've got to rebuild the car overnight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What is completely astounding me, Simon, is how on my last flying lap you were dead last by 10 seconds off pole, and now you've leapfrogged me to 12th. What is it with you and last lap efforts?
I don't know what's going on with this circuit. I cannot drive this at all. Someone's posted a comment, actually, I think the other day, that says, what does this guy do? Drive with his legs? I'm sorry, this is the most leggiest driving that I've done for a while. I'm really struggling with this one today. So I think you might get the long game because I was off and spinning and smacking my front wing.
Well, here's the thing, right? You're never going to please everybody, Simon.
No,
You're never going to
that's
please
true.
everybody. Because there's another comment, which is quite valid, and it's one I've always believed quite strongly in, that, you know, a Caterham should not be running in a podium position. So, you know, are you rubbish or are you good? Do you know what I mean? Because that's two contradictory comments. Like, you're out driving the car by a long way, but also you're doing it with your feet.
Well, just call me Ariel.
No, I agree, actually, that, you know, as much as it pains me because I will end up last for whatever reason that we still haven't truly established, I think, you know, how high you're running is testament in some degree to your driving, Simon. Well done. But, you know, it's a game about realism, isn't it? And we should probably be in a more
difficulty
Caterham-y kind of position. But we will probably raise a difficulty next season.
Absolutely. Apologies, I think we're going to have some Skype issues because the quality is not fab today, but hopefully we'll be alright. Should we dive on for the old raceroo?
Let's do that, and I can speak to you a little bit about next year's game.
Yes, because whatever news you've got, I certainly don't know, so this will be news to me.
Exciting times.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Why is he moaning?
I'm getting told off as well. If they're that unhappy with me, surely they would have fired me by now.
Ah. They're delighted. It's the team spirit and morale that you do.
If one of us gets bollocked, we all get bollocked together.
Yeah.
What I can't understand is, how come, aside from Monza, where I drove horrifically badly, and I know I did, and I wasn't paying attention, I was just flooring the gas at every opportunity, out of frustration. I was only on one night's sleep across the whole weekend, so, you know, do forgive me. I've driven fairly cleanly. I know I've picked up some penalties for various reasons, but I mean, in terms of getting around the lap without walling it, without spinning, without running wide on the track, and it feels like I'm not being rewarded for that somehow.
No. I think that needs to be sorted. Are you
Right.
doing Esteben strategy by any chance?
I'm applying my new logic, Simon, which is because I think it's a good idea. It's exactly what I'm not going to do. What lap are you stopping on?
So now it implies that my option tyres can go all the way to lap 8. So I may... I don't know.
Do you want to run to 8 or?
I'll do a 6 or a 7. Whatever you...
Okay, well, I'll take whichever 6 or 7 you don't take. You're ahead, so, you know.
I'll go 6 then.
Simon's faster than you. Can you understand this message?
I'll go 6 because that's what it was set up on. I'm not going to dive anything else.
I will last till 7, or attempt to, and if we end up queued up in the pits, well then, they just better work fast.
Yeah. No hamburgers for you.
No, and I tell you what, the Jackman looks like he's had a few. I'm sorry if someone at Codemasters is listening to this by some bizarre twist of fate, and they were the one that motion captured for this.
See, mine looks like he wants to be a doctor.
What, he's sort of lamenting his career choice.
He's
Look at me, my
he's got
stupid green t-shirt.
he's got that dark stubble effect they always try and give someone who's trying to do the sexual look in a hospital drama.
That and an Irish accent.
Yeah. Good luck, chummy, especially down at these turns 1s and 2s.
And to you. So there's a chance that we might end up at, doing an STR next year. What concerns me about that is that car seems so horrifically uncompetitive.
Oh God.
I just followed you completely off.
It's alright, it got me round Perez who was walking slightly.
That we may end up being not much different to where we are now.
Oh God!
What happened to you there?
That was you taking me round, I think.
Is that me? I didn't see you at all.
I was in the middle of all that somewhere. I don't know, I went round and there was you. But you've got Groves on at the same time, so all is good.
I didn't see a Caterham at all.
That's really funny. Go for it, mate. And
Oh, my
Bottas.
apologies.
God, where are the Mauritius? They're not at the back. Oh, bloody hell.
Good job. Nice
It's not
overtake.
an overtake. Oh, yellow flag. Who's that? Oh, it's Raikkonen's retired.
Good.
Obviously his back was hurting him a couple of rounds early.
Yeah, and he just couldn't be asked.
Yeah, or at least he was off, I think. Oh, that's that fucking corner.
So, talking about next year's game,
Yeah.
with the next gen consoles coming out and whatnot, they're rewriting the book, apparently.
Yes.
So they claim. Right? So,
Good PR.
the first thing that's happening is how the cars are built and constructed and simulated, as it were,
Okay.
is being looked at again. And for the first time in 3 or 4 iterations, they claim that just having a car driving around the track is going to be something of a milestone because they're not using or reusing the underlying architecture and coding, which is great. What concerns me is that the machine I'm on now is definitely not going to run it, so I'm going to have to build something new before September this year. Oh, big spin for Massa. He is facing the wrong way at the end of turn 3.
Oh, I've got yellow flags. Oh, yeah, there's ghosting-ish. There's quite a few front wings missing, actually. DiRestas.
Yeah, I'm catching the cars in front of me, so something has happened.
I've never known a track so full of buggy incidents. This is great. There's points
Well-
for us yet.
We should have got rewarded with that in Monaco. There should always be one lap at Monaco where a car gets stuck in the barrier and holds up every subsequent car that comes through that corner until the entire grid is at a standstill.
Yeah. It's normally
Just
Schumacher, actually, especially in 2012.
Sorry, we keep losing our train of thought today. My coffee hasn't kicked in. So the other point that brings me to is obviously, you know, aside from the usual graphical improvements and whatnot, is he was talking about throwing the script book out in terms of race engineer and the career mode and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about this every time we're anticipating a new game, but what do you want to see in next year's game? Because I'm forever saying that, like, the focus should always be on the driving, and I get that. But why are we not seeing the live the life idea that they first ran with being introduced more? And I'm not talking about something arbitrary like god-awful Racing Manager 2014, where your manager character can buy an apartment or a sports car that has absolutely zero bearing on the game itself for whatever stupid reason. I'm talking about, I always use it as an example, but being able to pick your race engineer and having a choice in that regard, like an actual driver would. So like if Andy Knight is doing your heading, as sometimes he does with his useless advice that is always wrong, you know, why can't you move to a new team and get a new race engineer? Why is there no more interview segments Now I know, 2012 definitely shouldn't have had them given how bad they were in 2011. But they've had 2 years to work on that, and
Just needed more options.
Yeah, it needed more options, it needed more variety. Which is what, a few days in the studio. That's nothing.
Not even that. It could even be. It doesn't even have to be voiced. It could be text. It really could if they just wanted to add it on quickly. Yeah, I like that whole live the life thing. I think that it just needed more meat. That was all.
Yeah, and why can't you have to start as a pay driver? Why can't you have to complete some challenges to get sponsorship, to get yourself into a minnow team? Why can't you negotiate your contracts? How difficult is it? They've already got high scoreboards for fast laps, your time trial laps. Why can't they have a scoreboard for career earnings? Right? And you negotiate the value of your pay and your bonuses and whatnot. And if you're the kind of person who likes to lead leaderboards, then you can play the game according to what I like to call the Raikkonen methodology, which is, don't worry about all the nonsense, just go where the cash is. I don't see why that couldn't be a valid and interesting game mechanic.
Yeah, because I think the whole it's a young driver's test thing is fine, but it just serves as a tutorial with arbitrary. This is you managed to get a standing start right. Great, you can now drive a Caterham. Yeah, there needs to be something more there. I would love to see GP2, GP3. That would be like Gran Turismo-y style career ladder for the.
I would too, actually. I really, really would. To go through one of those leagues as someone like DAMS or ART, and work your way up. I mean, at least in this game, what they've done is whoever you did your young drivers test with is more likely to take a punt on you earlier in the game, which is a step in the right direction. Yeah. So I did my young driver test with McLaren, and so at the end of my first or second season, I'm far more likely to get an offer from them than I would be from Red Bull or Ferrari.
I never knew. Oh my god, my driving.
But also, I think they need to work on how your goals are set for a race. They need to learn to recognise when you've driven an outstanding race.
I'd not expect that next time round and then be upset that you've not then won in a Caterham again.
Yeah, my Williams career playthrough, I scored a podium in my rookie year, and the next race they expected me to win the race. This is on pro difficulty. That is the limit of my talent in single player, and intermediate is beyond me in multiplayer. So why set such an unachievable goal? And why can't they have more than one congratulatory email template? Yeah. Why can't you wander the paddock and wander your pit garage? Why can't you discuss a bit more in depth your setup? Right? That's just a thought, right? Why do you have to just have some idea what you're doing right off the bat, or spend ages online looking up guides to learn to set up the car? Why can't they factor that into the game?
I tell you what I would love, whilst you're touching on the setup side, MotoGP 13 has an amazing way of dealing with the whole setup side of stuff, because you have a race engineer that's sat by your side and you ask him questions. And it even chastises you for it, because it says, I'm having problems with the straights. And then his answer is, God, if you're worried with the straights, God knows what you'll be like in the corners, with like a little smiley face on. And then he goes on afterwards and says things like, so is it that you're slow down the straights? Or is it that you're too fast and then you brake too late for the corners? And then it suggests to you stuff that you should do to your car to set it out. And you just click the button and it will do it all for you. Or you can then go off and actually do stuff side by side. Someone's off and out. Oh, it's Gutierrez in the barriers.
Yes, this is exactly what this game needs.
Yeah, and that kind of setup stuff. It's the Milestone is the company that does that. They do the WRC games, I think, as well. Amazing stuff. Oh, sorry.
You're trailing 5 places behind Esteben.
Bulkenburg. But yeah, that is amazing. I love the way how MotoGP 13 has done that. And actually, MotoGP 13 does the whole MotoGP 1, 2, 3, and all of that. And you've got DLC where you can download like the rookie leagues for Red Bull, where the cars are like really tiny, and so you're proper like full on the power all the way around the track. But it's great for that career progression if you wanted it.
Do you know, you're really selling this game to me, because last time you mentioned it to me, I added it to my wish list, and it came on Steam sale, and it was by the narrowest of narrow margins that I didn't just take a chance on it, because I'll be honest with you, motorcycles are not something I'm particularly interested in.
Same.
But you're making the game sound like everything this game should be, that maybe I should take a risk on it.
Yeah, definitely.
I have spent far too much on games lately.
Same. That Steam Winter Sale has ruined me.
Well, I don't mind so much on the sale, right? Because you are making a saving, and there can be no denying that.
I love the way how you've just made me feel so much better.
It's called enabling that, Simon.
Thank you.
It's that I bought into games that I know I could get cheaper if I just learned to be patient. And I'm about to buy another one today, which is not my usual style, but it's called Cook Serve Delicious.
Oh, I've got that.
And I saw we're talking about what gets you to buy games.
Yeah.
I saw a YouTube Let's Play of it, and it looks like it's very well done for what it is. And now I'm going to take a punt on it. But I know it's not on Steam sale, and I just missed it on Steam sale. We just double pitted.
Oh,
yeah.
I've just smacked a Red Bull on the X. There's some serious ghosting shit going on in this track today.
Yeah, when I pulled out of the pits, your ghost was in the pits.
You have no more scheduled pit
Did you pit that lap?
stops. Look after your
Yeah.
tyres.
Yeah, you pulled in while I was still in my box.
You're locking your
Advanced
front
ghosting
tyre
technology
just
to
in the
prevent
brake
us being
on the
queued.
Who's an Amazon droid?
Oh, I got a few frame drops there.
I had that earlier on. There is definitely something not quite right with the way how this is going. Like frame rate droppings and problems and so on and so forth.
Traffic ahead, stay alert.
I think once I get a PC that's more in sync with what you have, we'll be alright.
I mean, actually, having just thought about it, my RAM is now double what it was before. So that may actually... although the main problem was when my computer was half the RAM of what it was when we started the season. So we've had a complete spectrum of PCs to put yours up against.
And it has let me down on every single occasion. What it's done for me though is made me feel less bad about my driving, right? Because I know at least, barring the occasional balls or bug where I get a penalty for something I couldn't possibly have avoided, my driving's quite clean. I'm on the racing line for 98% of the lap, and I'm not hitting the barriers, I'm not spinning, like I had serious problems with last season. Even though my on-track performances in qualifying and race were better in 2012, I span it so many times. So many. So, it's good to see some level of progression.
Where are you actually in this race?
I'm 8th.
Oh wow.
I was 7th, but Alonso got past me when I pitted.
So you're at the head of this little train.
The Ben train has returned.
I see you, yeah. Oh, I see that curb as well.
Just give me advance warning if you're coming up to pass me, and I'll make sure I don't hit you again.
No,
like
no.
earlier.
It's provided a much more entertaining run of things, actually, this.
This car is so slow compared to Alonso. He's just miles ahead now.
I think there's people on different pit strategies because Webber's on the option tyres just ahead of me. So he's going to have to pit again, I think, because he's certain... Oh, mind you, he might have started on the other tyres because he got a 10 place grid penalty. Shut up, Simon.
Did he?
Yeah, because I hit him. And then when he came back on the track, he decided to smack Alonso and Massa.
Right. That's another thing. Can we have some more variety in the pit strategies?
Yep, you've been asked for that since day one, haven't you?
I have, just because strategy is such a big part of Formula One. I'm kind of sad there's not refueling anymore. I understand why there isn't.
Oh, what? That was a lag issue. Why do I get a fucking penalty for that? Soz.
What happened to you there?
We've been given
Webber lagged off the track,
added to your time.
and it's just implied that I hit him. Screw you, Sutu. Oh, yeah, because see the warping of that, I nearly hit you, because you walked back a bit again.
Standard reds.
If I'm walking backwards, what you're seeing is what I saw in Singapore.
Okay.
And see, I was flat out the entire time there, so what's happened is I've lost ground that I shouldn't have lost because my frame rate is out of sync with yours. Which means for safety, yours and mine, I'm going to have to let you through now. If you want to come through on the next turn,
Okay.
I'll go onto the inside.
Mind you, you're walking forward now.
That doesn't sound right. Are you through?
Side by side, through.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's alright, because I will hit you. That's the thing, if I can't see you in particular. Also, I can learn from the line you take through this corner. Or not, as the case may be, because mine was cleaner, but yours is somehow faster.
That is the frame rate. I'm sure it's the frame rate. Oh, what is that all about?
I don't want to jinx it, but could it be that we're on for our first double points finish since Australia?
No, we've had one since. It was at Nürburgring. Was it not?
That doesn't sound right. I hate that track.
I could have sworn we've done another points finish since. Only one.
Oh yeah, because I got 1 point.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's why I think it's Hungary.
Whatever you're thinking of doing, Sutto, I wouldn't.
Sauber. It was his birthday yesterday.
What was he this time? 41?
I don't know.
He's one of those drivers that he's probably still young, but he feels like he's been around forever.
I think that's why Barrett was around forever, to be fair, but because he started so young, he was able to. Which is a bit worrying for people like Vettel, because he was one of the youngest people ever when he started.
Well, he's already 26, right? And you can generally go to, what, 34, 35?
Oh, well, Webber was 40, was he not?
Who?
Webber.
Weber was 36.
Oh, okay.
I always put him older than he was.
Yeah. Berger was 39 or 40, I think. Barrichello was 39 or 40.
But Barrichello and Berger were drivers that were born old.
My mother, just a random thing on Gerhard Berger. When I got the F1 game for the PlayStation 1 when it came out, one of the things that I used to do was turn on the commentators on different languages, because they had all the commentary for all the different languages, and I found that quite a novelty to do. And I think it was the French one and the Italian ones would call him Gerhard Berger. And my mum got that stuck in her head, and so she would just randomly spout out Gerhard Berger for no reason whatsoever, not knowing what it was because she heard it so often.
There's a word for that in German.
What's that?
It applies more to music though. It's
Okay.
Ohrwurm or earworm, which we don't have a word for in English, do we? When something's sort of stuck in your head that you've heard.
No. That's the word that we give it, stuck in your head.
Yeah. See, that's another way games have moved backwards. Because, if games in like 1996 could record commentators, and, I didn't think the commentary in those games was that shabby.
No, I thought they were really good actually. A lot of people, I think, for like FIFA games and stuff like that used to complain that you'd get the same thing shouted. And to be fair, you would get Murray Walker going, "If I'm not very much mistaken, I am very much mistaken." But you could get away with it. It was great, and it used to be this big
Murray
selling point.
Walker.
Yeah.
Please, he's getting very, very old now. Can someone just give him a lot of money and just record a massive, long library of Murray Walker to use in games in the future?
Yeah, because he does the little weird. I didn't quite see the selling point of that at all. Murray Walker introduces the classic cars. He has about 3 lines. I know he's not very well. I know he's very old, but there was a lot that could have been done with that. But no.
Yeah, and Brundle, right? I tell you what they need. They need a sarcastic Brundle grid walk. Because one thing I love about Brundle is that he's not afraid to ask uncomfortable questions.
Yeah.
I was watching the 2002 Japanese Grand Prix the other day, and he stops Eddie Irvine on the grid, who, naughty boy, is going to prison possibly.
Yeah.
He stops Eddie Irvine on the grid and asks him if he thinks he's going to be on the scrap heap for the next season. And it was like a 2-part question, and Irvine answers the first part of the question, but ignores the question like, "Oh, do you think you'll be here next year?" And Brundle goes, "Oh, okay, well that's great, thanks. But what's your answer to the second part of the question? You just ignored it." And he just kept putting the pressure on him, until he just walks away. I love that about Brundle. Or my favourite Martin Brundle memory was the 2009 season. It just come back to BBC, right? And I was sat with my best mate. We were having a few beers and we were watching Australia. And he's doing his grid walk. He gets down to the bottom and he gets to the old Force India Ferraris.
Oh yeah.
And stops Adrian Suttle on his way to his car and asks the best question in Formula 1 history, which was, how do you get out of bed in the morning knowing you're not going to be anything other than last? And I was just astonished that he asked this question. He's like, how do you get out of bed? How do you motivate yourself knowing that your car isn't falling? It was just incredible. I was like, more of that, please.
What did Adrian say? I'm quite interested in the answer.
I will try and find a clip and I will send this question to you, right? I'll try and find the timestamp on it. It was just the best question I've ever seen anyone answered. Because it's quite a legitimate question. Like, when you know there is 0 chance of you being competitive, how do you manage to motivate yourself to go racing? I think that's a very, very legitimate question.
Did you just get a weird flash of yellow flags for about a second?
Yes, I did. I also have a Toro Rosso warping behind me, catching me up.
Okay. That's Ricardo, I think. Who's desperate to get his points. Because he's the only driver in the whole season.
He's the point scoring position, why can't you leave the balls alone?
Yes, leave the Caterhams alone.
I've just given his team some bloody money.
Yes, with your disgusting shirt.
Look,
What possessed you to buy that?
I wanted something, right? And I was looking around all the teams, and this is something else I want to talk about actually, but we're on the last lap, so I don't think we're going to be on the last lap soon. I don't think we've really got enough time to cover the issue fully, right? But F1 merch is just incredibly overpriced. Really, really overpriced. I mean, if you look at the prices in the McLaren shop at the moment, given that Vodafone is no longer their title sponsor, and the colour scheme of the car is rumoured to be changing to orange,
What is it?
why would you buy at that price a shirt that is going to be out of date in about 8 weeks' time?
They're like football kits, aren't they? Not
Right,
that I've ever been into any kits, but yeah.
I'm going to give you now Ben's wall of shame, right? And I'm going to give you the teams that are just humongously overcharging.
Okay.
Top of the pile, worst offender, Sauber.
Really?
Yeah, Sauber merchandise is incredibly expensive. And I'm sure part of it is being a Swiss team. I don't know if they ship the stuff from Switzerland or if they source it from within Switzerland. I'd be surprised if they did. But, you know, anything that's exported from Switzerland is going to be pricey.
Sure.
Totally
right.
But still, no excuse. You know, no excuse at all. Especially since they don't have any sponsors and the design of the stuff is pretty bland.
Yeah.
Williams, I believe, were quite expensive as well.
Okay.
But the prize winner for being the best has to go to Marussia. Everything in their store is incredibly reasonably priced. Well, I say reasonably. I mean, it's not, but it's reasonable compared to everyone else's. Caterham, you could do better. But Toro Rosso Red Bull, actually, at the time I was looking for what I was in the market for, made the most sense because they were having a 40% off sale. So it actually worked out to be, I got the highest quality product for the lowest price.
Oh, cool.
And also, like, I know it's not the sort of thing you buy as a fashion statement, but whatever was in the Marussia store, as reasonably priced as it was, and as much affection as I have for them, it was not going to be a good look. Not that this shirt is necessarily either. But I justified it. You say what possessed me. I justified it on the fact it didn't really cost me anything, and the fact that they used to be Minardi, so they get a free pass.
That is allowed.
They're still the old base. They've still got almost all the staff. They've just expanded. So it's just at its core it's Minardi. So I give it a free pass. But what I'm really waiting for is the Super Aguri merchandise store to open.
Ah.
Oh yes.
You beat me, mate.
But only because of your 10-second penalty, because look at your best lap time's 2 seconds faster than mine.
Thank you for holding them up, though, because I slotted in quite nicely
1 point.
by a whole half a second ahead of Riccardo, who doesn't score still.
Unlucky there, Ricardo.
Trollolol.
Well, I'm pleased with that, and my race engineer sounds like he was reasonably pleased, given that I was 5 seconds slower than Vettel, 3.1 seconds slower than Rosberg.
How have you stayed where you are? Mind you, there was a lot of crashing going on.
There was a lot of crashing, a lot of spinning, and there was issues in the pits. And I think for once my tyre strategy was perfect. I got the maximum amount of life out of the options.
Look at Hamilton in P3. Has he got +1 lap for you?
Yeah, plus minus 1 lap.
What?
Yeah, what is that? It's a plus and minus 1 lap.
Yeah.
Huh?
Who knows? Weirdo
Right.
F1
I
2013.
defended this game to the hilt when it came out, and I said, look, it's nowhere near as buggy as people are saying, but, the patching cycle for this is finished now, and we shouldn't be seeing stuff like that. That's horrific. Should we see how that affects the standings?
We can't.
Oh, we can't, yeah. Yeah, that's something else they need to fix as well.
Yes, damn right. That does need to be fixed.
And one last thing.
Mhm.
AI only races.
Yes. Oh my god, yes.
And a
Because-
driver editor. When I was a kid with the old F1 games, one of my favourite things to do was you used to be able to edit the names of the drivers.
Yep.
And I used to put together the world's most unlikely grids, like Pat Butcher driving for Ferrari, right? And then you'd sit there and just cackle to yourself as Lily Savage overtakes Angus Deaton for 3rd place.
See, Pat Butcher, instead of having DRS, she just lifts up her earrings.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to do that because I used to have used to go on. Well, I still do it with Grand Prix 4, Grand Prix 3s and stuff like. Or Grand Prix 2 mostly now because that's the easiest one to edit cars in and out. So you would do random name generator. You'd put stuff into a little thing. You'd press a button, and all of a sudden you'd have obscure people in McLarens and Ferraris and. Yes, AI races. They've not been seen since 2006. Can we please have them back? And also, may I also say, safety cars. Can that be tidied up a little bit, please?
Yeah. Well, I think that went rather well for us.
That
all things
did.
considered.
We put the to rights and we scored.
Before we go, I want to throw in that I am still doing my Grand Prix World playthrough. There were some hiccups And Simon's very kindly going to look over the video for me, and then we'll do some quality control, and I'll reshoot it, and we can maybe start putting those out. I managed to make it to the second season with Minardi for the first time ever, so I'm reluctant to start it again, but you know, if the video quality isn't there, then it's not there.
No, that's all good with your Shinji Nakano and Esteben Tuero.
Esteben Tuero, yeah.
Oh, see, it was meant to be. It was meant to be. Cool. I know, we'll be looking forward to that. Get out on the streams. I'm going to have some more video bits all coming out too. And now that my PC is back up to full scratch, there's going to be plenty more PlayStation-y and old console stuff going back on the website. So, thank you very much, Esteben.
And thank you, sir.
We shall see you all soon. Take care. Bye for now.